Hey there, guys. So I want to thank you for taking the time to check out today's live stream. So, of course, we're going to be going over body image and, of course, the social media and comparison trap. But before I do get started, I do want to, of course, mention to you guys that I do have a website if you're not aware. It is bponlinefitness.com. There's a ton of information on there related to online fitness coaching. You can reach my website from the links that are on my YouTube profile. So definitely check that out if that's something that you're interested in. I always keep it updated and give you guys the latest information related to fitness, nutrition, recovery, and things of that nature. So definitely make use of that if you are interested in learning about what I have to offer. One thing I will say too is that I do offer free consultations with, when you discuss online fitness coaching with me. So there is no pressure if you do decide to learn more. I always make that emphasis whenever I speak to somebody and, go over basically what I do have to offer. So there's no pressure at all there. So another thing I do want to mention as well is that for next week, I actually won't be doing a YouTube live stream due to traveling, so it's going to be a little bit crazy in the next week. I will still plan on, of course, sharing new videos and try to get more, continue to get the content out there as I have before, but it may be a little bit sporadic in the content that I share in this coming week. But I do want to share that there won't be a YouTube live stream next week. So definitely, continue to keep a watch on everything that I share because I will be sharing a lot of my trip itself when I'm traveling. But again, I just wanted to share that. But I still will be doing a TikTok live next week and a Facebook live. But because I'm traveling out on Thursday, that's why I won't be doing the YouTube live. But I will plan on doing YouTube lives as I get back. I'm not sure if I will do it the following week, but I'll keep you guys posted because I'll actually come back that following Wednesday. But I will let you guys know if I do have a live stream for that day. So, again, I do really appreciate you guys for taking time to check out my live stream. Again, I'm really passionate about what I share, and I do thank you guys. So, what we're going to be discussing today, again, is body image in the social media and comparison trap. So, I think that this is a very crucial topic that we all should be aware of. And I think that this will give you guys a little bit of insight. And I think, too, discussing this topic will help you to change your perspective. And this is something that I think is very crucial. This is something that I mentioned to anybody that, who joins on with my program or anybody who is getting started with online fitness coaching is that the whole process, for reaching your goals all comes down to how you challenge your mindset. And so a lot of that mindset, being able to challenge your mindset, a lot of that has to do with, facing social media. A lot of times we do compare our journey to what happens online. And so it's very important to really change your perspective on how you approach your routine and how you approach, again, seeing what is on social media. So, how social media, these are the topics we're going to be discussing, is primarily going to be 5 topics today. So, we're going to discuss how social media is quietly changing your definition of normal, the emotional fatigue of constant self comparison, why fitness progress looks slower in real life than online, the hidden cost of tying self worth to appearance, and how algorithm culture rewards extremes instead of sustainability. So these are all the points that we're going to be touching on in this stream. If you guys do have questions about anything I discuss here, feel free to let me know and share those questions that you have. But let's go ahead and get started with the first point, which is how social media quietly changes your definition of normal. I'll try to get away from the screen so you can see the points here. But the first point, of course, is seeing highly edited physiques, perfect routines, and nonstop motivation every day can slowly make unrealistic standards feel normal. So, one thing you have to really get a grasp of when it comes to social media and as you're doing your routine and maybe you're following social media accounts or fitness accounts, one thing you have to be to keep in mind is that you have to focus on, again, your own journey, focusing on your own, being in your own lane and where you're at in your journey, especially when you're getting started. It A lot of the things that you see online are not a reflection exactly of how somebody reached a goal. A lot of times we don't see a lot of the effort that happens behind the scenes on what people are sharing or what they are building. We don't really see that happening, behind the scenes. We're only seeing those highlights. So social media, again, often shows highlight reels instead of real life. So there's perfect lighting, selective angles, filters, enhancements, and only the best moments. So that's something you have to keep in mind. A lot of times, and this is like with me, I'm very picky a lot of times with what I share. So that's another thing to think about. A lot of times when people share something, it's likely going to be something that's filtered in a way, or it's likely going to be something that they specifically want shared. They want to have their image portrayed in a certain way. So you have to think of it in that context. So, and there are some people that are honest, of course, about their journey, but keep in mind that with a lot of the popular sort of, accounts that are in fitness and, a lot of the, fitness realm in itself, because I follow a lot of those accounts. A lot of them are always, they're selective with what they do share. So you have to keep that in mind that their journey is going to be completely different than yours. And where you start is totally different. Where they started is totally different. So everybody's got their own lane in life on how they're reaching their goals. So over time, people begin comparing their everyday body progress, energy, and lifestyle to someone else's curated content. So you, again, goes back to the curated content. You cannot compare where you're at right now, what you're doing right now, to what somebody is sharing because you don't see the behind the scenes. You don't see everything that's happening that they're doing. They're only being selective with what they share. This can create pressure to train harder, eat more restrictively, recover less, or feel behind even when progress is actually healthy and sustainable. And this is something I always get across to any potential clients I work with, as well as clients that join with me, is that I don't tell them about having a quick fix or having a, really fast way to get there. I always mention that it is a very step by step process, that it is it takes piece by piece building everything together. It's almost like putting a puzzle together, in other words, where you're slowly getting all of the pieces together when it comes to reaching your goal. And that's what I always mention to anybody that works with me is you have to really be patient with yourself. I've went through the same loop when it comes to social media. I went through whenever I started, before I actually got into becoming a personal trainer, I started to really study, trying to find the best fitness routine. And whenever I did that, I was so focused on what I seen online, like as far as, Instagram and things of that nature, and really trying to get to my goal faster, and I would neglect my recovery. I would just focus on trying to work out every single day, and I felt like that's how you get to the goal faster. But, of course, my perspective has changed because I've went through the process of being certified as a trainer. I've learned more on the structure of how workouts should be, as well as how nutrition should be, and recovery. So I've learned all of those different aspects in order to get the results. So again, what I want you to get from this is that it's all about staying focused on what you're doing, looking at everything on, more of a macro level, focusing on where you're at the moment, and stay focused on your own journey. The emotional fatigue of constant self comparison. So, constantly comparing your body, progress, or lifestyle to others can create an emotional fatigue that slowly damages consistency. Social media, again, often rewards extremes, highlight reels, and unrealistic expectations that make normal progress feel not good enough. When again, in reality, progress, really sustainable progress and progress that lasts, takes longer. It takes such a longer period of time, usually years, honestly, because where I'm at today has taken so long to get here. I wasn't doing any, quick fixes or anything like that. I was just focusing on the basics. I got to the point to where, okay, I'm just going to focus on the basics and I'm just going to show up every day. And really, that's all you need to do. That's all you need to do. It is frustrating. And I won't say it's not frustrating because it is frustrating when you feel like you're putting in a lot of effort, but then it feels like progress is slow. But you have to really shift your perspective when you are in your routine. Progress does not happen the way that we expect it to happen when we see online. So, again, comparison shifts focus away from personal growth and towards chasing validation, perfection, or unrealistic timelines. So, one thing you need to think about when you're in your workout routine and when you're really getting a grasp of training consistently, being on track with your nutrition, and things of that nature, what you need to think about is those personal growth, sort of that personal growth that you're making in your routine. Again, like what I've mentioned before, progress happens in multiple different ways. It's not just looking at a weight scale. It's not just our appearance. It's way more, there's way different, excuse me, there's way more aspects of how you look at progress. Like what I've mentioned, there's so many different metrics that you can track. I always mention to clients, tracking measurements as a form of seeing your progress, especially like with muscle gain. Because when you think of the context of muscle gain, what you're focusing on primarily is, of course, you're going to gain weight. Muscle gain, of course, naturally, you're going to gain weight because you're gaining muscle. And so we can't get so hung up on the scale because it's naturally going to go up. So the way you can sort of counteract your progress is by seeing, the measurements in your arms, maybe your legs, all of the different, in your chest as well, and seeing that progress in different ways. Growth happens again in multiple different ways. Another way you can think of it too is sort of basically your biometrics or how you feel overall, like your energy levels, your performance, how you're able to consistently perform at your best in workouts. All of those different aspects are what you should focus on when it comes to progress and not primarily focusing on trying to get the validation from others just because of, changes in physical appearance and things of that nature. So, this mental pressure increases stress, frustration, burnout, and feelings of failure, even when real progress is happening. Again, a lot of progress happens behind the scenes, and a lot of the outward progress doesn't show. Our body has to catch up to it. It has to catch up to that progress, especially when you're starting out, because it takes a few weeks for your body to actually really adjust when you get started in a workout routine. And then from there, your physique, it's a gradual progression when your physique starts to change. Emotional fatigue often shows up as loss of motivation, inconsistency, gym anxiety, or constantly changing programs and trying to catch up. This is one thing that I've mentioned a lot of times too with, clients and also anybody that's interested in, what I have to offer, of course, is that you have to focus on staying consistent in your routine. You have to focus on not trying to switch around doing different types of workouts every single week. You need to be consistent with your workouts, and that's like what I've mentioned before. If you've seen any of my other streams, I always mention going through phases in your workout routine. And so usually with phases, you're doing those workouts for roughly 4 weeks. And the reason we're doing workouts for 4 weeks is so that our body is slowly adapting to those workouts. But of course, we don't want to do those workouts for a really long period of time. We want to change it up so that our body has some new stimulus that it can react to. But what you have to focus on is not constantly switching out your routine like every week, maybe every 4 weeks, of course, but you have to make sure that you're really getting a grasp on those existing workouts and mastering those movements. So generally, you do want to go through phases in your routine. You don't want to just swap around and, try to do different workouts, try different, because your body has to learn how to adapt to those workouts and adapt to that routine, if that makes sense. Why fitness progress looks slower in real life than it looks online. Again, social media often compresses months or years of work into short clips. So, transformation photos and highlight moments. So, if you see people online, or they'll say, a lot of times they'll say that I did this in 3 months, or I did this in 6 months, or, a lot of times your the that progress does not happen that quick. And I mean, just to be honest, the progress that they share that's happening within a short duration of time, it's not going to happen that quick. It's going to take a little bit longer. And I was guilty of really trying to compare myself when I got started to a lot of the progress that, or a lot of the, transformations that I seen online. And that's why I was getting frustrated, because I was constantly looking at what they're doing, how they're doing it. But I felt like I wasn't where I should be because I'd been doing this consistently for 3 months or 6 months, but then it still wasn't showing. So again, and even too, for everybody, progress is not the same for everybody. Some people may, reach their goal faster. Some people may take longer to reach their goal. And there's a lot of different factors that you have to take into consideration too when you're reaching your goal. It's like what I mentioned. There's different aspects that somebody may be doing better than you're doing. There's different aspects that you're just not paying attention to as much. And again, you have factors like age that could play a role in whether you get to a goal faster. Sometimes age makes a difference, where if somebody's younger, they're likely going to gain muscle really quick. That's just naturally how it is. But if somebody's older, it does take a little bit more time for that muscle to show up. That's not to say that they can't gain muscle, because they can. It is possible. Like I said, I've worked with clients who are older and they can gain muscle, but it doesn't happen as quickly when you're somebody who's older, because again, there's different metrics that change how we see progress and how progress happens with each and every one of us. So in real life, or excuse me, online content rarely shows the slow days, plateaus, setbacks, recovery periods, on consistency required to build lasting results. In real life, muscle growth and fat loss happen gradually through repeated habits and not overnight breakthroughs. And that's another thing you have to keep in mind, is that getting results is a lot about the boring consistency. It's the boring consistency and the boring discipline that is going to get you those results. It's just not going to happen as quickly as you expect. And you have to have your mindset set on, okay, this is going to be a process to get to. The body adapts in phases. So again, this is kind of like what I mentioned previously when I train clients is they usually go through phases, and that's so your body can adapt to those workouts. So the first phase usually that we do is learning movement first. So that's like what I mentioned, which is known as the stabilization endurance phase that I usually have clients do. And this phase is focused on basic movements, stability, and more balance-based exercises. And this is again to prepare for higher intensity. So from there, you're improving strength second, and then building muscle, visible muscle over time. So you still have to be structured in how you approach your routine. You can't just jump into weightlifting right away. You have like when it comes to the training phases, I got my certification through an ASM, and the way that it's described as far as the training phases is as a staircase. So you're going gradually up on a staircase in each phase, where the first phase is your stabilization endurance phase. That's your foundational phase. And then from there, you're going into strength endurance, muscular development, things of that nature. So it is a process, and you have to think of it in phases when it comes to progression. So the hidden cost of tying self-worth to appearance. So when self-worth depends entirely on appearance, fitness can slowly shift from self-care into constant self-criticism. Physical progress may temporarily improve confidence, but confidence built only on looks often becomes fragile and difficult to maintain. Small changes in body composition, weight, lighting, or performance can suddenly feel emotionally overwhelming. So, this mindset is what's going to create anxiety around food, training, social situations, rest days, and aging. So, when you surround your whole goal around your physical appearance, it becomes this constant game of thinking about every single aspect of what you're doing. And you don't want fitness to be that way. You want, it's great to have a goal that's focused on improving your physical appearance. That's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with having a goal focused on that. But it's important to think beyond just the physical aspects. And this is something that I've mentioned time and time again. And this is what I really make the focus of when it comes to my coaching program is, like I said before, I've always been frustrated with a lot of the content that I've seen online because you see a lot of content from these really big guys that do workouts or they do bodybuilding and things like this, and it's all about appearance. And one thing I've tried to make a huge focus of with my online fitness coaching is not making how I look the main focus. It's more about the information. That's what I've tried to make the main focus of with my program is really emphasizing the information. Yes, my face is on a lot of what I share, but I make it a focus that the information that I share is the most important part and not just showing off appearance. It's more important to learn about safely performing exercises, more important to know what you should eat that's going to help with the muscle gain. It's more important to have that information and that value than it is to get hung up on the appearance side of things. And like what I've mentioned too, you have to think about the health benefits that you get from fitness in itself. There's so much more beyond the physical aspects. So, constant pressure to look perfect often increases stress hormones, emotional burnout, and unhealthy comparison habits. So, again, really think about your goal. Really, a lot of times, too, when I talk to clients or any potential clients that I work with, I always ask them what their goals are in particular. And as cliche as it may seem to set goals, it's really important because you have to understand and you have to tell yourself, why is this something that I want to accomplish? Why is this something that I feel is important to me? And I always encourage them to, be detailed with why they're doing this. What is the, what's your clear motivation behind this? What do you think has, prevented you from reaching your goal? And what is it that you're really trying to accomplish? Is it that you want to gain muscle by this certain period of time? Is it that you want to be healthier in any certain way? It's about really getting a detailed idea on what you're trying to accomplish. And that's something you have to ask yourself. And every time I talk to somebody who may be joining online fitness coaching, I always ask them in particular, what is it that you're wanting to accomplish? What do you think has prevented you from reaching your goal? And those are really important questions that you have to answer in order to know, okay, what are the steps that I need to take moving forward? So, how algorithm culture rewards extremes instead of sustainability. So, social media algorithms are designed to reward content that creates strong emotional reactions, fast attention, and constant engagement. So, anything that's viral, keep in mind that even if it's viral, does not mean it has the proper research or backing behind it. Just because it's viral does not mean that it's going to be an effective, routine or an effective, any kind of effective health sort of program. You just have to think of it that a lot of what gets thrown out there and what's popular is just because it gets an emotional reaction. So extreme workouts, unrealistic transformations, crash diets, and all or nothing fitness advice often spread faster because they appear dramatic and exciting. What I will say, and like what I mentioned before, when it comes to sustainability and workouts that last, a lot of times it's boring. It's not flashy programs. It's really boring. What I do is I do almost the same thing in my workouts pretty much every day. Now, I do change out some of my workouts, but it is pretty boring. But but again, going back to the algorithm and things that are viral, it's always what seems, again, like what I mentioned, getting to your, like, losing weight in a month or something like that. You see on social media these crazy sort of advice that get thrown around. What lasts is going to be really boring. It's not going to be exciting. And that's something that you have to keep in mind. Sustainable habits like balanced nutrition, gradual progress, proper recovery, and consistency usually look less entertaining online, even though they produce long term results. This can make normal progress feel too slow and create pressure to constantly push harder, eat less, or train excessively. And this again goes back to like what I've mentioned with goal setting. That goal has to be clear in your mind. But then from there, you have to remind yourself as you're getting started with your routine and as you're really getting into the core of your workout routine, you have to constantly remind yourself that this is something that takes time. It's something that takes a lot of effort. It's really boring. I'm not going to lie, it is really boring a lot of times. A routine can get really boring. But if you want something that's sustainable, you have to think about it in the context of working hard for it. Something that's going to think about it like this. If you're getting something quick and really fast, you're not going to have that feeling of, okay, I worked for this. You're going to feel like you earned that reward so quick. And it's not like you're just going to instantly get a dopamine hit from it because you've got that reward so quick. But when you think of something that you worked hard to reach and you've spent years trying to get to it, it becomes way more rewarding when you hit that point that you've achieved your goal. So you have to think about it that in that context is that even though it does take a long time, even though progress doesn't align with what we see online all the time, what lasts and what's going to be sustainable for you to stick with because you've built a habit, because you've built a routine around it, it's going to last so much longer than you jumping into some random diet, a random workout program that's like really extreme, that's short term, that may get you results, but it may not last because you've not built a routine from it. It's probably going to be a short term program and it's not building something that's sustainable, if that makes sense. So I know I'm kind of really going into that, but that's something you have to be aware of. You know, everything you see online, it's all, again, is smoke and mirrors a lot of times. And we cannot relate that to our own journey. So, again, guys, I do really appreciate your time. I really enjoyed talking about this topic. I think this is an important topic to really get a grasp of because I think we all do it. I've done it myself. We all have this notion and this feeling that I'm behind because I'm not at the same level that somebody else is at, or I feel like I have to find the quickest way to reach that goal, the quickest way. But again, guys, a lot of times sustainable is really slow, but it's worth it. It's worth it. It's the same way with me. It's very hard when you get started, and yes, you're going to have those feelings of really being motivated right away, but that feeling is going to slowly go away. And that's why a lot of times I mention you have to be disciplined. You have to focus on consistency and focusing on your mindset because it's not going to be exciting all the time. It's not exciting for me all the time. I even when I mention to clients, I always tell them I have days where I don't want to go to the gym. I have days where I just don't want to be there. But that's going to happen to everybody. It's not, even though I'm a personal trainer and this is something that I'm passionate about and that I enjoy learning, teaching, and doing, I still have days where, it's like a job where it's just one of those days where you just don't want to be there, even though this is something I'm passionate about. But again, what's going to reward you the most is not comparing your journey to others, but thinking about what is sustainable, what is going to last longer. You have to think of it in that context. But thank you guys once again for your time. I hope that this was helpful and valuable. If you have any questions on anything I've discussed here today, feel free to let me know. Or if you have questions on any of the other live streams that I've shared over, of course, the past few months, the past year or so, I have a ton of videos that you can check out if you've not checked them out. Again, guys, I do want to mention that there will not be a YouTube live stream next Thursday because I will be traveling, but I do plan on returning to these live streams within the next week. But I'll let you guys know when that new one will come up and I'll have it shared here on YouTube. But again, guys, I will be sharing more content. I'll still have some videos that I'll be posting throughout the week as I normally do. But thank you guys once again for your time. I really appreciate it. I've been very passionate about growing this channel, and it really has grown quite a bit, especially since the year has started. It's grown a whole lot, and I really appreciate you guys for the support. And again, all the comments that you share, I can't get to all of them right away because I'm always juggling multiple things at once, but I do really appreciate it. And again, guys, feel free to reach out if you have any questions, anything you want to share, feel free to let me know. But with all that being said, guys, I'll see you guys in the next few weeks in the next YouTube live stream. So thank you guys once again for watching.